Hello, everyone. Welcome back to CryptoCache. Thank you so much for joining me here. Hope you're having an amazing day. We're going to take a quick look at Bitcoin, see what's going on here today. And of course, if you're new to the channel, consider becoming a member. But just know I'm new. If you are new to the channel, I just love teaching people how to trade. This is my day job. I love doing this every single day for a living. I've been trading for about 15 years, and I can tell you it's a very healthy, comfortable lifestyle if you have good risk management and you're smart about the trades that you take, right? It's not about how many you take, it's about the ones you take that are going to get where you need to go, okay? And those are things I like to try to help teach here. Of course, in my video, I've got a trading academy and community, link in the description below, or just cryptocache.tech, check that out. The website is up and live, but it is still under construction, so bear with me here. It is going to be complete here in a week or two, I'm sure. So just waiting for that to get figured out. But for now, with Bitcoin, something I want you to understand is that we are still in good shape, right? Sky isn't falling per se. Yes, there is news on Monday, an emergency meeting from the feds that could shift things in a different direction. We're not sure exactly, but as I anticipated, that the price did retrace, right? Now, the question is, how low is it going to go, right? Now, we're going to hopefully try to identify that here today. I don't think it's quite done yet. It does show it's showing a lot of weakness, and we have some indicators that are telling us it's going to turn around. In other words, continue to the downside for some time, but again, I don't really personally feel like we're going to see the bottom drop out just yet. We'll cover that later, obviously, if there's new things that emerge. Monday will probably be a pretty interesting day for us, right? That being said, taking a look here at Bitcoin, just kind of go with the basics here, of course. And you know what? Why don't we do the one thing better? Why don't we work our way down from the monthly chart and just kind of get a quick perspective from the bird's eye view? Because I think it's important to understand, RSI has been up over 50 forever if you look at the 1 month chart, right? But just know if we ever break below that, it'll be probably pretty difficult. Again, don't read into that at all. RSI in the monthly doesn't really factor too much. I do personally feel that RSI is the most effective on, the 4 hour up to the 1 week. 1 month, I think it's a little off. The one thing to note though is that we do have a MACD divergence essentially in the big picture, and that just kind of tells us that that the shift in momentum has occurred. In other words, we're finally leveling out with all this data here for last year to kind of essentially average out in the sense that the bullish momentum has kind of started to retrace, or more importantly, release, so to speak. Just it's a lot less present, and not to say that the price won't still continue to increase. We could very well see triple digits by the end of the year, or six figures rather. But for right now, just know that's roughly where we're at for the monthly. Now, I'd really look at the weekly and kind of identify those things instead, because on the weekly chart, we get a much different story, right? We're under the 50-day set moving average, which is pretty standard considering the circumstances, right? Because that's still moving very slow on the weekly. But when it comes to the RSI, we're under 50, which isn't fantastic. So until we break back above that, which is very synonymous with 46,000, if you're to kind of look at the price action, 46,000 should be reflectant of 50 on the RSI. Now, again, that's just a ballpark figure based on what you can see here so far. But the fact that the price came up to about 45.5 and retraced, this 1 week candle, or sorry, the 1 week RSI was touching 50 on the RSI. So that tells me that 46,000 is the point of contention still. Until we get back above that, we're not considered to be bullish whatsoever, okay? So please recognize that. Yes, it's nice to have 2 to 3 weeks worth of nice continuation of the upside. That was fantastic. But we got to be real in the sense that it could very well correct itself. I'm not saying it's going, the bottom's going to drop out per se, but I do think that 41.5, something in that range is very realistic, at least in the immediate future. So that's kind of what we're looking at there in that sense. And then of course we got the MACD convergence. It is slowly converging, right? So it basically tells us that in due time, pending we don't have anything catastrophic, so to speak, we can definitely still see the price recover, and that'll put us somewhere in the time frame of, what do you know, March 14th, right in the middle of the month roughly, where we should have a convergence and the price should continue to increase from there. Or at least that could be a potential. Once again, this is just what the 1 week is telling us. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's the official. I prefer to use the daily, which we'll go ahead and look at now. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about the daily, because this is my favorite time frame. I think it's ultimately going to tell us the best give us the best perspective, right? Because the 1 day effectively helps us understand probably the most, in my personal opinion, based on the data that's given, because it gives you a full 1 day average, and that seems to be the most consistent for me as far as setting major key level resistances and support levels. Those things are matter on the 1 day. And to speak about that, just to really quickly touch on this, the candlestick from yesterday, it closed below, what is it, 44,000, right? So now that's going to be considered a key level resistance, not necessarily a support from before, right? Because we got that 1 day close above, it continued to push up, had that momentum. Now that we lost that momentum and successfully closed below 44,000, I think the likelihood of it breaking back above it is fairly low in the immediate future. Again, we need more consolidation, we need more volume at this price point to be able to get that to happen. So to me, based on the fact that we came up, what, 7 days in a row with more bullish momentum than anticipated, especially with a very strong green day here, there's a great chance the price should and could come down to 41.5 or possibly even lower. Okay, so again, that is a possibility, when especially with the price action here today. Of course, it hasn't closed yet. We've still got like 8 to 10 hours worth of time frame left in this trading cycle. This doji candle does not speak very high. It's not a very good sign, the fact that the price cannot seem to break above. Now we could have a hammer up. The price could close closer to 44,000. That would be a great sign, but it would still reiterate the fact that 44,000 is a resistance, and we may not expect it to come back up above that, at least in the immediate future, right? I'm not saying forever, but this retracement isn't strong enough or long enough, so to speak, to allow for that breathing room. Because once again, Bitcoin jumped up almost 25% from bottom to top, I guess, depending on how many days you consider it. So if you take the, let's just say 7 days of trading, 25%, that's a pretty decent amount, right? And that's like 4% per day, roughly, somewhere in that range. So ultimately, that's a lot of growth, and a lot of the growth happened in 1 day. So to me, this just appears to be overextended, and it's working its way back down, which is completely normal. All right. So that's kind of what we're looking at there. RSI is still up over 50 and under 70, so we're not, in dire straits by any means, but that is essentially what we're looking at there. Okay. Looking at the 4 hour, let's go ahead and see what we can do here. And this is something I was expecting too. I sent out a signal about, I think it was 24 hours ago, 36 hours ago, to my community, just letting them know, hey, the 50 on the RSIs, or correction, the 50 on the 4 hour chart, the simple moving average here, the 50, this orange line that you see, it's likely going to get tested soon. So I think that the price could intersect here with this, and this could work as a support level, right, when the price comes over here. So that does reaffirm that 43,000 could be the most immediate and beneficial support we can rely on, right? Again, we lose 43. I wouldn't say it's a free fall, but there's not a lot of volume in the recent past here. And that's going to drop us right down to 41.5, right? I do think 41.5 will hold, because that's a pretty strong support level. We had a tremendous amount of volume accumulation over the weekend, and that definitely helped, right? And a lot of the traditional consumers like you and I are in at 41.5. But 43,000, we lose that, we should see a pretty consistent, I wouldn't say a free fall, but again, the price has a significant gap between. So 41.5 seems like a very, very strong likelihood if we lose 43. So that's kind of where we're at there, in the sense of just kind of understanding volume versus, the 4 hour time frame. Simple moving average is working its way up. So once again, we lose the 50 on the simple moving average, I would expect the price to come down to 41.5. That's kind of just what I'm extracting here and understanding, because the 50-day SMA has always been a pretty good support level. But once again, the key thing that you want to understand is that as soon as it breaks below, it's not like official, right? That's not confirmation. Confirmation is waiting a couple more candlesticks to ensure that it's actually officially below. So for lack of better terms, if we see the price dip below the 50-day simple moving average, don't just act as if the sky is falling. It's okay to take entry, maybe with a tight stop loss, but for lack of better terms, until it closes below, maybe for 2 or 3 more candlesticks, you get a few more printed candles, then and only then you can consider that to be a resistance, right? But tentatively, it's considered a support right now, and we'll see soon, probably within the next 12 to 24 hours, if that will hold as a support or not. RSI is also on, I wouldn't say razor's edge, but you can obviously tell there's some problems here. In fact, there's been multiple times where the RSI was actually peaking below 50, which is typically referred to as a support level, right? When it drops below that, that's when we want to, I wouldn't say get concerned, but that's when we have that bearish type of divergence, right? So the fact that we're consistently testing this level, 1, 2, 3, 4 candlesticks almost in a row, tells me that that's a good strong support level, but it's also more likely to be broken soon if you continue to just hang out right there and the price can't recover from that. You can see it's trying, but it's not doing very well. Okay, and we obviously have a bearish type of divergence on the MACD as well. So the 4 hour is not really looking great, minus the 50-day SMA that could be potentially the saving grace here in the next 12 to 24 hours. Okay. So just something to kind of note there on the 4 hour. Looking at the 1 hour, let's go ahead and kind of look at the obvious here. I mean, to me, the Ichimoku cloud is probably the best indication. We got a significant, a difference here. Okay, so here's a couple things. Let me actually point this out, Because the lagging span is telling us that we may actually intersect here soon, and that a short position may not be advantageous, right? However, you can tell that we're kind of making lower lows and lower highs right now, right? We lost this little price point here at about 43,600/800, and now it's looking to be more of a resistance, okay? And what I mean by that is if you look at this price point here, you can see that the price was hanging out there for multiple times, right? Yes, it dipped below there, but for the most part, you could see there's about 6 to 8 hours worth of testing at 43,800, and it stayed above. Now that we're below it, it comes up and it keeps getting rejected by that, okay? That's usually a tied and true testament to helping you understand the shift in momentum, right? We went from bullish, it tried really hard to break, couldn't break 45,500 roughly, and it come back down. Now that's below, it's looking, I wouldn't say terrible, but not so great. And let me go ahead and do this too, because I'm kind of curious, because I need to update my Fibonacci retracement levels, because I get this question a lot actually from my community members, like, hey, when should I update it, or when should I redraw it? You should usually wait for the one-day candlestick to print first. And in that sense, now that that's officially closed, we can go ahead and move that up. And wow, look at that. What do you know? Big coincidence. Now the major Fibonacci retracement level is 43,800 after we've updated it, right? So in the last 7 days of trading, Fibonacci is telling us basically 0.786 is a point of contention. It was previously support, which we've established on the 1 hour. And now it's considered to be a resistance. So I just drew that line, the same exact line that Fibonacci is telling us is now a key level resistance. Once again, because we're below the price action, instead of being a key level support. So what do you think is going to happen now that it keeps testing that? Is it going to break to the upside? Perhaps, yes, that can happen. But the likelihood of it is lower based on the simple fact that it's been a previous support level, right? A previous support level turned resistance is a stronger resistance. So just keep that in mind. And one last thing too here, let's kind of see TD sequential is telling us we're at a 5. We got to reset to a 1. This candlestick hasn't closed yet, but generally speaking, we don't have any type of exhaustion, so that's really not relevant. But just to touch on the Ichimoku cloud, the thing I want to kind of point out here is, first of all, lagging span, yes, almost intersecting with the price action. That's all well and good. That's usually a signal to close your short position if you have one, right? Because it's not showing strength that it might reverse and come back to the upside. However, I put more weight personally into the cloud itself, as well as the conversion line being below the baseline. And when I say below, again, it's moving to the downside. So the baseline will effectively be above and the conversion line will be below, right? And what that basically just means is, with this gap being so large, that really tells us a lot in the sense that there's a strong momentum to the downside and that 50 on the RSI could and very much will likely be broken. So to me personally, even though, yes, we're getting close to the lagging span intersecting with the price action, I think we're more likely to see the price continue downward soon, especially with a red day going into the weekend, or red day on Thursday, and today being a potential doji candle. There's a strong chance we're going to see a continuation, a slow continuation, probably not significant, but a slow continuation into the weekend if the trading day close here today comes to a head. In other words, a lot of times what happens, and you've probably noticed this, there's significant volatility when the market opens and when the market closes, especially for some strange reason. This week has been a very, very crazy, I don't know, it's been a roller coaster, right? Like if you have a tight stop loss, you're going to get stopped out almost no matter what. Because I mean, you see these large candle wicks up and down, like they're like 4 to 5% swings, which is significant for Bitcoin. So that sentiment alone going into a weekend, like, the odds are in your favor that you're going to have a momentous trend in the opposite direction of where you've come from, right? So this whole week has been green, minus yesterday. So do you really think that tomorrow or today we're going to continue to just push and recover right back up to the upside? Or do you think that we need to have a few more days of consolidation / retracement? I think consolidation retracement makes much more sense, just in the general sense of how things are going, because we are, once again, previously, we're no longer there yet, but of course, we hit a 7 yesterday, okay? Now, hitting a 7 on TD sequential, I mentioned this yesterday. If you haven't watched my video from yesterday, go ahead and do that as well, because I was explaining that we were expecting a red day soon. When we hit an 8 or 9 on TD sequential, in the past year, we've only had it happen one time where the price continued upwards. Now that we're at a 7, we're seeing that retracement. So once again, it may not be significant. We may only see a retracement closer to 43,000. But if we lose 43,000, 41 / 41,500 is again that next price point based on volume. So to me, I feel like the way that things are looking right now from Bitcoin is that there's a very strong likelihood it's going to digress further instead of recover and bounce back to the upside. It doesn't really have a reason to continue to the upside, in my opinion, personally, just yet, right? We need more consolidation because, I mean, any good staircase pattern is going to have an up over pattern, right? Well, we've come up and over so far, but that's a very significant step up, right? This is healthier than this is, right? So to me, I don't know, the way that things have been kind of progressing, et cetera, with all the, especially with the news and the emergency meeting on Monday, I don't know, I'm not super bullish on the short term. I think long term, yes, Bitcoin will definitely do well this year, but I think March and February, of course, the month we're in presently, are going to be really unique months in the sense of probably extending that consolidation. Okay. And just to clarify that, one last thing, and I'll call it a day here, is that, again, I don't personally feel like, I do think that 33,000 was probably the bottom. That's just my gut feeling for the moment, right? And in that sense, that this digression that we're seeing here, like, it's not normal for it to just bounce right back after so long of that, right? I think it's going to be normal to see some kind of choppy behavior between now and just say summertime, right? Again, a loose estimate roughly, but I don't think we should expect any type of parabolic increase. Yes, Bitcoin has proven to do that in the past, but the 4-year cycle is, I wouldn't say completely broken, but it's not, we're not following that anymore. Okay, and a lot of it has to do with market delusion. In other words, it's a diluted market, and there's a lot more investors involved now than there was before. And of course, there's a lot of average consumers like you and I, affecting the market price. And these are all things that are highly reliant on the world and the way that things are going. So I don't know. To me personally, I don't think that we're going to see a strong recovery from Bitcoin in the immediate future. I'd be fairly surprised if we come up. In fact, I'd be more worried if the price continues any higher for the moment based on just the way that things are going. Because again, this type of trend needs to take some time before it recovers. We should not expect it just to go like this, okay? So again, this correction here is healthy. Heaven forbid it comes all the way down to 39, just say even 33. That'd actually be better because we're printing a double bottom, so to speak, and that's very helpful. Bitcoin's a fan of double bottoms, right? So in the general sense, again, I just want to try to drive that home. It's really okay if you don't believe or don't feel the same way. We're all entitled to our own opinion, right? I try to stress that in my community, but I can tell you though that we're not showing a lot of confidence right now in the immediate future, and I do think that we could at least see another week's worth of potential bearish divergence. So that's just kind of my mindset there. And I do think this weekend's going to be it's going to be a strange weekend just based on the fact we have news coming up on Monday. And, when we got news coming up on Monday, there's going to be a lot of speculation. There's going to be a lot of, people potentially dumping and or possibly trying to pump it up and then dump it down. Right? So I think the close here today is going to be interesting. We're probably going to have a volatile market for the next 12 hours, but I'm looking forward to seeing what happens. Anyways, I've rambled enough. I hope you found some benefit here today, of course. We'll obviously keep a look at this. This is my daily driver, just to make sure we all stay kind of abreast on what's going on. I do this for my community members, but also my subscribers too. So thank you so much to some of you who have been watching for a very long time. You know definitely who you are. You're the ones that comment on my videos pretty much every single day, and I deeply appreciate it. And all the support and camaraderie from this has just been amazing. So thank you all again for everything. If you want to become a current, a community member, learn from my trading academy and benefit from the signals I send, of course, feel free to join. CryptoCache.tech is the website. We'll look forward to seeing the next one. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you.